can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face.
Oh, I'm from Brooklyn.
Hey, guys, any...
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
I can do anything better than you.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Anything you could be, I can be greater. Sooner or later, I'm greater than you.
No, you're not.
Love the song. Love the song. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Saturday Debate Show with Mac, Jack, and me, Paul. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. 1 hour of great sports debates. Mac and Jack, how you guys doing today?
Good. Could be a little better. The Yankees should have signed Josh Hader as their closer. They didn't, so I'll get over it.
I'll get over it. Yes, sir.
Doing good, Doc. Glad to be here with you. Glad to be on the show and get this thing going after a week off. And hi to all the viewers that will be coming on later.
Nice. All right, let's jump right into it. We get these questions from the Crack Committee of Question Makers, a brilliant group of people who work around the clock coming up with the questions. So here we go. Are you ready? Should the Peacock Network take some responsibility for the 15 fans who got hypothermia from going to the game with Kansas City against the Dolphins in that freezing cold game last Monday night? Or Sunday, I guess.
Why should the Peacock Network take responsibility? The game would have been played at night anyway on another network if they didn't telecast it. Maybe it's something that the NFL should be talked to about. Games in brutally cold weather shouldn't be played at those locations. There has to be a retractable dome in cold weather places like Buffalo, Kansas City, where the weather, you just really can't tolerate it. You really can't tolerate it as a fan to go to a game like that and to be freezing. There should be a retractable dome in each NFL stadium, and there should be a kind of a line, like if it's under 20 degrees, I'm just throwing a number out there, the retractable dome comes on. I don't want to hear the old school nonsense that Mac is going to come up with in a little while. Well, football is played in all type of weather, rain, snow, fog, this and that. At the end of the day, football is an entertainment entity. You could say it's a sport all you want, but the people who show up are showing up to be entertained as fans. They feel a stake in the team. They're sitting there, and to put them through those conditions is awful. And it's easy to say, well, they have the option of not going to the game. But really, if you're a big fan, you're a season ticket holder, you're kind of locked in. You tell yourself you're going to go no matter what. You're going to brave the conditions, but it's hazardous.
Well, Mac, I can't wait to hear what you say.
Before I get to my points here, let me answer Jack. Jack, I guess, thinks that because he's sitting in his room watching TV that everybody else should go view games that way. Listen, Buffalo fans don't have to go if they don't want to play in the cold. They love going there. They shovel out their seats. They go there. They help shovel the parking lot. They shovel out the players. It's a community thing. It's the same thing with Green Bay, Philadelphia, New York. They love watching their team play in adverse conditions. And it is entertaining to some people, Jack, to go there and watch them play in those conditions. They would be giving away too much of a big advantage they have playing outdoors. They wouldn't want it. And to suggest that every NFL team has a top that comes up and over and whenever they want it, it's just ridiculous. Who's going to pay for that? Is the owner going to pay for that? Is the fans going to pay for that? Do they even want to pay for that? That's just ridiculous. So I guess, Jack, maybe stop watching football. Maybe he should boycott it. I mean, I think the Jets won in inclement weather their only Super Bowl against the Baltimore Colts, if I remember correctly. It was raining and the field was kind of.
It was in Miami. What are you comparing weather in Miami to what
It was raining. From what I remember, the field was nasty. Matty got all dirty.
I am talking about cold weather, Matt. I'm not talking about
well, you
rain.
said all inclement weather, Jack. You didn't say just the cold. And by the way, the NFL did cancel the Buffalo game because it was too hazardous. Peacock, on the other hand, did not. Now, Doc, this is why I'm saying Peacock should take some of the responsibility. First of all, of course, the easy answer, as Jack said, which I agree with, you could just blame the fan for going out there with that. But when you got a chance to go watch a playoff game and it's your team and you're a fan of that team, of course you're going to make every attempt to go there. Even Miami, the fans, God bless them, came all the way up to Miami to watch their team play the Kansas City Chiefs, right? This might have been the year for Miami. We all thought maybe they had a shot. Fans want to go see their team play. Peacock, because it paid $110 million to air that game, and I don't know if they could have made it play earlier. Maybe they could have gone up against the Buffalo Bills. Maybe they could hold it a day over. I'm not sure. I don't know what Peacock was thinking. But one thing for sure, they knew it was hazardous. Peacock knew that weather was going to be 20 below, that there was going to be a strong winds, that it was going to be a very dangerous game. And instead of trying to do something like Buffalo did and maybe cancel it for one day and play it the next afternoon or play it earlier that day, they didn't want to go up against the Buffalo game because they would have lost ratings. So what they decided to do is they said, to hell with the fans, to hell with their safety. What we're going to do is we're going to hold the game at 20 below
zero. It's a different city, Mac. It's a different city. Don't compare it to the Buffalo game.
We're talking about weather, Jack.
It was
cold. We're talking about weather.
Buffalo was snow. That's why they delayed it a day. They had to double out.
That's fine. I'm saying they knew that was dangerous to have fans going out there at 20 below zero with a wind chill factor of who knows what. Peacock should have canceled the game or rescheduled the game, but they paid $110 million to air that game, and they weren't going to give up that $110 million, and they weren't going to give up any revenue for that either. And by the way, just to let you know, they were the lowest because they decided to do a where no one else could see it. You had to pay for this. And this is what I'm talking about, Doc. You had to spend that whatever amount of money it was to hook up to watch this game with Peacock. And they didn't want to lose out on that money because maybe they didn't have enough time to change it for the pay-per-view thing they had going on there. So maybe that's the reason why they decided not to move the game, because then the fans would have to go back.
But that's not the question, Mac. What was the question? Wasn't it the fans?
Did I interrupt you while you were talking? I don't think I interrupted you once. Point I'm trying to make is Peacock should be held somewhat, not totally, but they should take some responsibility for this. I think it's the right thing to do.
All right, so I'll disagree with both of you on various points. Number one, you can't put a dome on every stadium. You'd have to knock a whole bunch of them down. Like if they wanted to put a dome on Yankee Stadium, the Yankee Stadium as it's currently designed isn't designed to be able to house a dome, a retractable dome. So you'd have to knock the whole thing down. I don't know how much that costs, but millions and millions.
They don't play football in Yankee Stadium except for college.
All right, they just built the Meadowlands, the MetLife Stadium, the same year they built Yankee Stadium, 2009, 2010, in that ballpark area. So they would have to knock that stadium down to put a retractable roof. It's not going to happen. But Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City seats 76,416 people. If 15 people got hypothermia, that means 76,401 people did not get hypothermia. So I think we then have to look at why those people got hypothermia. When you watched the game, whenever you watch a football game and it's cold weather, what do they show you? They show you fans who have no shirts on. They show you the people who painted their body. Look at me, I'm braving the cold. Well, that guy with no shirt on, was he one of the 15 who got hypothermia? Because if he is, that's not the Peacock Network's problem. That's not the NFL's problem. That's a guy who is foolish to, without going down that road and saying other insults about him. It's absolutely foolish. At some point, there has to be personal responsibility. The Chiefs didn't say you have to come to the game. The Dolphins didn't say you have to come to the game. Peacock didn't make people go to the game. In fact, the people who got hypothermia weren't watching it on Peacock because they were at the stadium. The logic that Peacock should be responsible for the fact that people got hypothermia would be the same as Disney World taking responsibility if you don't put on sunscreen and you get a sunburn. I mean, you knew the weather. So the weather was freezing cold. So you put on extra layers, you put on hats, you put on gloves. And again, 76,401 people at that game did not get hypothermia. The people who got hypothermia were people who obviously did not dress, but they weren't forced to go there. They went on their own on their own decisions. So if you do that, you accept that risk for going out in the cold. I wouldn't have gone. I've missed Yankee playoff games million times because of the price, because of the weather, because of whatever. We have personal responsibility for ourselves. If you go out in the cold and because to go to a football game, that's your fault. That's not the Peacock Network's fault or the NFL's fault or anybody else's.
So, Doc, I don't feel Peacock's to blame. Matt feels it to be blamed at least somewhat. So you agree with me on this debate?
I agree with you, but I don't agree that you're going to make every stadium have a dome.
No. If you can, that would be ideal if it could be done. If it might have to be years in the making, but if it could be done, it should be done.
They would not. A lot of stadiums just wouldn't do it just for the advantage. Doc, I said the easy answer would be to say that. I don't necessarily disagree with that. What I'm saying is that when you're in advance, you know something. For example, right? You got to go out to get something at a grocery store, and the plows don't plow. Are you going to go? Maybe you won't. Maybe somebody else will. Who are they going to complain about? Are they going to complain about the guy who drove down and maybe ran into a telephone pole? Or are they going to blame the people that didn't go out there and plow the roads correctly? I understand what you're saying. I'm saying there's some responsibility for the people that are holding this event that should take some responsibility. When I did events, when I was in catering, the people that you rented from, that piece of land you rented from, they had responsibility for the safety as well as I did. I'm saying that, yes, the fans should be somewhat responsible, but so should the network. The network knew in advance what these conditions were going to be.
Mac, that guy who had no shirt on, was he one of the 15? Because whose fault is it if you go to a football game and you take your shirt off and it's 0 degrees? Whose fault is it?
Of course that's his, and maybe
maybe
he's drinking too much. But the thing is, it's there, Doc. And the way society is today is that the people in the stands, the hosting stadium is somewhat responsibility. I'm just telling you, the reason why they get on the air and they do that a lot is because they're shown on TV. We all know this. Hey, I got my 15 seconds of fame. We all know that's why they're doing it. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. The point I'm making, again, is in advance they knew this stuff. This wasn't a last minute thing. Well, all of a sudden it was 30 below zero. This was forecasted a week before that this could happen. And Peacock could have talked to the NFL, said, listen, we paid you $110 million. I want to put it on the next day. In the afternoon wants to be a little bit.
But have they ever played a football game? And how much different was the weather the next day? But have they ever played a football game?
It would have been warmer in the afternoon, Doc, than it is at nighttime. And cold.
I'd have to look that all up. How many different degrees it would have been in the afternoon. But have they ever played? This isn't Peacock. This is the NFL. I bet you if you ask the Chiefs and the Dolphins before that game, would you like to postpone this till tomorrow? They would have all said no way, because we wouldn't have had enough time to whoever wins to prepare for the next game. They don't play football on Tuesdays. They've never played football on Tuesdays.
But again, Doc, Buffalo did postpone it. And even though it might have been a shorter week, it made it cause a little bit more of a problem. They still did it. Because
the league moved it back a day, not Buffalo. Because
that's not true. The governor shut the
people couldn't get to the stadium. That's why they moved it back a day.
The governor shut down the state. That's why they moved it back a day.
Because of travel, it was hazardous to travel to the game. They didn't shut it down because of people sitting in the game. It was hazardous to travel to the game.
I am saying the governor shut the state down, not the NFL, Jack. That's why they couldn't do it. The governor said, no, you can't get in. So that's all the only point I'm making. All I'm saying, Doc, this was forecasted. If it was a last second thing, all of a sudden a big cold thing came down the night before, I can maybe even understand that. I'm saying it's because of the dollars that Peacock was going to get from the people going ahead and signing up to get this game. I think they should be partly responsible. That's all.
If I get sunburned when I go to Disney World, is Disney World responsible?
I think Kansas City, I think what you're the thing you're saying there, as far as you getting sunburn going down to Disney.
I love it. Max thinking that one over. I love it.
The point that some people sunburn, some people don't. The point I'm making, Doc, is if Disney knew that there was going to be 110 degrees, that the humidity would be 200%, and you were going to probably get a sunburn, maybe they should be.
Doc, occasionally, tragically, there's a terrorist attack somewhere in the world, and Disney's been known to shut down their facility if there's a threat. They don't know where it's coming from. Let's say they didn't shut down their facility. They left it open. People attended, and there was a terrorist attack and then hit Disney. Would Disney be responsible, or can we say the people knew of the threat, they were informed, and they decided to attend anyway?
We're not talking about a terrorist attack.
No,
obviously.
I'm just saying, like, same thing with freezing cold weather. You can make the argument, well, the people didn't have to attend the game. No one forced them to attend the game. Everyone knew what the elements were going to be.
That's what I said before. They didn't force them to attend the game. The idea that I'm trying to get the weather as we talk.
And sometimes also you can dress as warm as could be, and you could still, get sick. You could still come down with something. You take every precaution.
Excalibur Iron Force, they did have 23 million views, but they finished last compared to all the other games that were on regular TV.
Well, that was predictable.
Of course, because they were on pay-per-view.
Right. And yes,
which again, I think is the worst thing they could have ever done. And I think we're going to have that question coming up. So let's jump right to that question. Would the NFL actually lose viewers if they were to go to pay-per-view for the Super Bowl? So I'll jump in because of the transition. Absolutely, positively, they would lose viewers. And I see that day coming. I think it's the worst thing that sports can do if they take the baseball World Series and put that on pay-per-view, or the playoffs. It's an insult to the fans who've supported the sports for all these years. And the only comparison is you look to boxing. Tell me anybody who doesn't know anything about boxing, they couldn't tell you who the heavyweight champion of the world is, because you cannot watch a fight. Every single big fight is either on HBO, Showtime, or pay-per-view. So there's boxing, which used to be on the front page of every newspaper, nobody cares about. Why? Because you can't see it. So why would you care about a sport you can't see? And if they're going to start taking the Super Bowl and playoff games in the NFL and put them away from fans are going to go other places.
I agree with what you're saying 100%, except for this. I remember in the 1990s, a close buddy of mine who was involved in boxing, the unofficial boxing judge from HBO, Harold Letterman, told me after the 49ers beat the Bengals in the Super Bowl and Joe Montana led that late drive, he said, you're going to see, Jack, soon these Super Bowl games are going to be all on pay-per-view television. But they haven't been on pay-per-view television. We're talking about 30 years or so later. I don't see it going to pay-per-view.
I hope not.
They don't have to. They can make so much money, the NFL, and with their sponsorship deals. I think they were a little too smart for that. That one game on Peacock was kind of a tease. Maybe it was an experiment. You can get away with one early playoff game round, considering that there are like 4 playoff games that weekend, and you just there were 6 actually, and you slip one onto the Peacock Network. It ticks people off. They get mad about it. but they're going to get over it soon because they got the other playoff games that quickly follow. But you put the ultimate game on pay-per-view, the Super Bowl, there's going to be a big backlash. You know, there are a lot of people around the country who just can't afford it. Okay. And what are they going to do? Put a tease, make it $20 pay-per-view, $25. I mean, where's the stop-off point? For boxing, it's $75, a regular pay-per-view event. And if it's a massive fight, it's closer to $100. And you have a lot of boxing fans who are addicted. They complain about it, yet they keep buying the events. So they're part of the problem. They encourage this pay-per-view craze. The bigger question might be, guys, would the fans pay the money for the most part for the Super Bowl if it wound up being a pay-per-view event? And maybe they would be addicted. I think I would pay it if it wasn't that high. And if it was a very high price and the Jets won the Super Bowl, how could I skip the game? You know, you're waiting all those years, your team's in the Super Bowl. I guess you splurge, you know, you kind of feel you're forced into it.
Well, you know, first let me make comments. First, they say people couldn't afford it. They can afford $1,000 mobile phones devices. They'll pay for a phone, so they could afford it. You know, and as far as saying, you know, that nobody knows who's the heavyweight champion is a little extreme. I think if you follow the papers and that, Facebook and social media,
the doctor's right. I'm sorry to cut
Nobody
in.
knows who the champions are.
I'm sorry to cut in.
Listen, I think most people right now know Artur Beterbiev is the champion because it's all over the news. That's all.
He's a light heavyweight champion. No one but hardcore boxing fans know who Beterbiev is.
I'm just saying, pretty much everybody knows Crawford is a champion. I mean,
never heard of him.
Oh, well, Doc, you're one of the few then, because most people.
Terrence Crawford. Have you heard of Terrence Crawford, Doc?
No.
See,
wow.
So that's what I'm saying. Doc just doesn't follow it, period. I think Doc's too busy.
I used to. I can't watch the fights. I don't have HBO. I don't have Showtime.
Canelo Alvarez. Have you heard of him, Doc?
Alvarez, yes.
Okay.
All right. So there's
Mayweather. People would have heard of. They would say
Mayweather,
the average person on the street would say, "Oh, the boxer."
And he's a
right. Nobody's saying that about Crawford. You ask, you'll walk around downtown and say, "Who's Crawford? What sport is he?" No one's going to tell you that he's a boxer.
They would know. I think they would know, Doc. I think most people would know.
But who's Beterbiev? They're going to play. He's the linebacker.
Yeah. I hate to say it, Mac. I'm a big boxing guy. I wish I could agree with you, but Doc is right.
I think it's a little.
I don't think the average person on the street. I would be astonished if they heard the name Artur Beterbiev.
I think if you follow sports on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the other places that sports fans go to, I think you would know that. But that's a different debate, I guess. Listen, I wouldn't watch the Super Bowl on pay-per-view on principle alone. I think that's what we're talking about, right? I mean, would you pay to even see your favorite team be in a Super Bowl? I mean, Doc, if the Jets made it to the Super Bowl, would you pay $25 to watch that? Jack probably would. I don't know if I would for the Giants or not. I'm not sure. I know I can see the highlights later anyway. I'll know who wins the game, and I could probably watch YouTube and watch almost the whole game on there later. And if they didn't win, maybe I don't want to watch it. So that's a little thing. But anyway, pay-per-view is here right now. We saw Peacock has done it twice. That there is pay-per-view with Peacock. I think the NFL will eventually try this. I don't know how far in advance they're going to do it. I think they could do pay-per-view and put commercials on it too. I think they'd get away with that. I think people would pay for that. So maybe they can even get more money because it's pay-per-view and they get the commercials and put it together. The thing that's going to be interesting if and when they do this is what matchup will draw more money? Will it be a bigger name, right? Will it be a bigger name for the San Francisco 49ers to play the Baltimore Ravens, or Tampa Bay say they play Houston? Are they going to charge different like they do in boxing? Are they going to charge different prices for the different Super Bowl? I think that's a question that's gonna come up. So I think pay-per-view is coming. I think the NBA championship might go to pay-per-view. I think the World Series might go to pay-per-view. And I think it's going to affect the sport. I really do.
I do too. I think it'll ruin it.
Yes.
Yeah, but just getting back to that, but in all fairness, I got to defend my sport of boxing. The average person on the street who's not a sports fan, you ask them who Juan Soto or Garrett Cole is, chances are they're not going to know. If
They'll
they're
know
not
Aaron
a
Judge.
sports fan.
But they'll know Aaron Judge.
And they'll
I
know
think they
Terrence
would have
Crawford.
said Aaron Judge. I would
and they'll
think
know
that's why I
Terrence
left
Crawford.
his name out.
And they'll know
So
Terrence
I'll
Crawford.
tell you what. Here's the experiment. Pags, how are you, my
Well,
friend?
how does Pags come on our show here? Come on, I thought he was barred for a couple of weeks.
Listen. Somebody sent him the link.
What the
Somebody,
heck is
somebody's a
Pags?
big
I
Pags fan
like
over here.
Pags personally. I like him personally, but I mean, I'm a little stunned to see him here.
What? Why are you stunned?
A little stunned.
Why?
A little stunned. I mean, you haven't been here for a few weeks.
Well, I was here last week.
That was the football show.
Football.
See?
Yeah, that's football. That was
See,
yeah.
and
No,
I'm not
that's not the
traveling
same
anymore.
format.
I'm not traveling anymore. I'm like the Jets, where we're on the couch like everybody else.
Yes, the Eagles. Hey, Pags, who's Crawford?
Terrence Crawford.
Terrence Crawford.
Don't look it up anywhere.
Isn't he a boxer?
He is good. Okay, but you're a big sports guy, and there was some hesitant. We're saying that nobody knows any of the champions in boxing. I do not, because it's all on pay-per-view. So you are just our quick.
I only know it because I listen to the Mac and Jack show, and there's this bald-headed guy who keeps talking about boxers. So
I try not to.
We were talking about pay-per-view, Pags, Super Bowl. Would you buy it if the Super Bowl was on pay-per-view?
if this year's Super Bowl was on pay-per-view, no.
If the Eagles win it, you would easily pay the $100 if they charged that, right? Easily. If you had
If
to
the
watch
Eagles
it on
were
TV,
in it, I
couldn't
wouldn't
do
need
that.
to pay for it. I wouldn't need to pay the pay-per-view because I'd be at the game.
You'd be if you weren't at the game, hypothetically. I mean, Eagle fans would pay the $100.
Yeah, I'd be willing to bet that they would.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So,
All right.
I mean, ultimately, I mean, realistically, they're, this whole Peacock thing is, truth of the matter is that I don't believe that it'll ever go that route. They want the Super Bowl to be the most watched show every year.
Yeah.
That's how the NFL does it. So they're not going to ever do a pay-per-view for that. Will they do pay-per-view for the championship games and other games going into that? Possibly. But it is the most watched television show in the world every year. So I can't see them doing
I'm not
putting
against
it
guys.
as a pay-per-view event.
There's nothing wrong with networks charging money for extras. Like, let's say you want to see every game that's going on at that moment, but you have to pay a price for it. That's okay. It's basically your local teams, your local games. That's what I think we have an objection to pay-per-view. Like, I was under the weather earlier this year, and there were 3 games on a Saturday at the end of the year, all on the NFL Network. And I didn't have the NFL Network here in Florida. I have it in New York. And I subscribed to it because I wanted to see the 3 games. I wanted to watch football the whole day. And it was worth it to me, what it costs to get the 3 games, that day.
I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have done that. I would have found another way to watch them. I guess you could stream on certain things. You go to certain people, they stream it in certain areas. I don't know if it's legal or not, but they do it. And I know you could pick it up some other ways on Facebook and stuff. It's just principle to me, right? That's what I think it boils down to. What's your principle? Are you gonna?
Mac, was $11 for 3 games. I mean, to watch all day. That was different from paying at 75, 100. It wasn't like an ultimatum. Like with the Super Bowl, would be an ultimatum. The whole season goes by, the big game, and then a pay-per-view charge. But I agree with Pax. It's not going to happen with the NFL. They're never going to do pay-per-view. Not in the Super Bowl.
All right. Speaking of the NFL, we have a couple of NFL coach questions coming at you. Let's start with this one since Pags is here. Looks like Sirianni is going to return to the Eagles. There was rumors that Bill Belichick might go there. He's interviewing with the Falcons. I think Harbaugh is as well. So this question is, where does Bill Belichick end up? I have my guess. I want to hear yours, all of yours first.
Well, I won't be long. It would be the Atlanta Falcons would be my thought, because Jim Harbaugh is going to be in one or two places. He's either going to go to the Chargers because they're built to win now, West Coast, if he feels comfortable enough with ownership and that he feels he's going to have enough control. If he doesn't feel that way, he goes back to Michigan. I mean, it's pretty simple. And Falcons and Bill Belichick seem to be a perfect marriage. The owner is very patient over there, very, very patient. He's going to give Bill Belichick basically a ton of control. And the Falcons are just one quarterback short of winning. So it's an excellent fit there. So that's why I see him going. He's had 2 interviews there already. So I think the stars are aligned for Bill Belichick to go to the Atlanta Falcons.
It does look like it. They did interview there for the second time. I'm not saying it's a shoe-in. I still think the Chargers are still in play, depending on what they do over there. The power issue, Jack. I don't know. Listen, I don't know if they're going to give him that much power because of the way he drafted lately over there. I don't know if they're going to give him all that power you're saying they're going to give him because his record the last few years has been pretty bad. So that's something that's going to have to be worked out. And also his boys, that's something that will be worked out too, whether they stay with New England or they go with him to Atlanta. There's been talk that they might stay in New England, but we'll see what happens with that there too. I think Belichick will make Atlanta a very formal team, but are they ready to win that Super Bowl? I know he's chasing that record of 300 and something wins to get by. I think it is, who is it? Don Shula he's trying to get by, or I think that is who it is. I'm not sure.
Don Shula.
Yes. So I know that may give him a chance. He's going to the NFC. What I think, Pags, is he's going to the NFC because it's a little less competitive over there. I think the AFC has a lot of teams over there that would prevent him. Even with the Chargers, he's still going to play all those top teams over there. The NFC maybe has a handful of teams that have a shot at going to the Super Bowl. It's a little bit easier to win games over there, especially in the South.
I'm not convinced of that. I'm not convinced of that. I actually think that that the Falcons isn't as great a spot for him. I wouldn't be surprised to see him start to interview with the Chargers. That I think that's a possibility. I feel that they are better suited to win right away than Atlanta is. I think he learned over this past couple years that quarterbacks are hit and miss. After hitting so strongly with Brady, if he figured, I got everybody. Like he had Garoppolo there for a second, and obviously Tom messed that up a little bit, but Garoppolo wound up being nothing. You know what I mean? I guess he did go to another Super Bowl, but that had more to do with the 49ers than anything else. I think that he's going to wind up going to Los Angeles. I think he's going to be a Charger coach.
All right, real quick. I'm calling an audible, Pags. Are you happy that the Eagles are keeping Sirianni?
Well, was that official? I haven't read that. It was official yet.
Not official.
Oh, I don't know that it's official. I'm just going by the
means
question.
It seems that way. It seems.
Yeah, as of right now, because I know they haven't met yet. They were talking about meeting yesterday, and I think something happened with the weather that they weren't able to get together.
It might not be a done deal.
I think he's on the hot seat, but I think he does come back, and I think he deserves to come back. He's been in the playoffs the last 3 years, so ultimately, if you fire a coach that does that, there has to be very, very good reason. I feel that the strife that happened in the locker room doesn't have anything to do with the coach at all. I think that there was issues that occurred that he had to deal with. He dealt with them the best that he could. Ultimately, you put him on the hot seat, and if he have a similar situation that occurred like last year, then you're gone. If
Well,
it's he's only 1 year removed from the Super Bowl.
So was
Pat,
another,
keep this in mind.
so was another coach. Peterson was a year removed too, and they fired him.
And they didn't fire him immediately like Sirianni.
He was 2
They
years
tried
removed.
to work
He was
something
2 years
out.
removed.
All right,
No.
2 years removed.
But the point is, Doug Peterson wasn't fired immediately. They gave him certain conditions where he could keep his job, and he didn't like those conditions. He felt he'd be hamstrung with those conditions. So they moved on from him because he didn't accept those conditions. Whatever conditions they put on Sirianni, if he rebels against it, he could still be fired. It's not, you're right, it's not a lock that he's coming back now, even though it would appear that way.
All right, let me give you
And not only that, I feel like if you fire a coach like that, then you become more like the Panthers. Let's just fire the coach every year, and you become a Fugazi franchise.
They did fall apart, Pags. They did fall apart at the end of the year.
I gotta Doc.
Well, you know what? The Giants fell apart all year long. Should I have fired Daboll?
Well, I think at the end of the year they played pretty good, including beating the Eagles.
Oh yeah, they beat the Eagles in the last game of the season. Woohoo! Woohoo! Hey, yeah.
So
listen,
Rick Sherlock,
that's not the first time you've ever seen them do that in your lifetime.
Rick Sherlock wants to know how you were treated. We saw you on TV. I didn't look happy.
No, in fact, the world saw me on TV now because it's a meme and it's been looked at by about 50 million people. Actually, the fans love me in Tampa. They all come down and take a lot of pictures. The kids they all say they follow me and such. It's a lot of fun when I am down there. It obviously losing it changes it a little bit, but ultimately it's always a good time when I'm down there. And the Tampa Bay fans actually do love me. They love to hate me. Maybe that's a better way of saying it. But
I if you guys don't mind, I know we're starting to talk Eagle football a little bit. What's revealing with Nick Sirianni maybe not having control of that team? Keep this in mind. A.J. Brown, their great receiver who was out with the knee injury for just one game, basically. He didn't even show up to be on the sideline to support his teammates. That's pretty revealing.
Yeah, I heard a pretty nasty rumor. I'm not going to tell you about the rumor. I just heard a really nasty one. And if it has any credence, it would make a lot of sense on why the team did what it did.
Yeah. Well, I know the Eagle fans down in Tampa were throwing popcorn at the head coach there.
Actually, one idiot did that. And he guess what? He got arrested.
Yeah, I know.
So that's what happens when there's dumbasses who don't know. Yeah, all right, you can be upset as you want. What's the big deal? Yeah, we lost the game. You think it was Nick's fault completely? Throw some popcorn on there, get yourself arrested. Good work, dummy.
Yeah, not smart.
But I'll say just one last thing from my end on it. But there was a heartwarming story. Jason Kelce, the great center on the Eagles, the icon in Philadelphia, he drove by his local McDonald's and what did he sign a jersey for his favorite worker? He gave a jersey. He loves to go to McDonald's for breakfast, Jason Kelce.
Yeah, we're doing stuff. We're doing stuff here in my living room for Jason.
All right.
We're gonna have his unofficial retirement party here. We put out billboards and stuff like that. We're doing a lot here for Jason, whether he retires or not.
Yeah, just throw him
that's
a party.
Not official either.
He deserves a party. That's one Eagle that I do like there. I do like Jason Kelce a lot.
Yeah,
going back
we're throwing one whether he retires or not.
All right, so is he coming? Pags, is he coming?
Will he come to the party? We hope to. We hope to see him.
That's awesome.
I mean, we're going to be partying either way. So,
How's this for the Belichick? Going back to him, how's this for a scenario? He wants to go to a team that's very close to winning. He wants to go to a team that has a great quarterback. If the Bills lose again, now remember their coach had a thing a couple of months ago where he said some crazy things about 9/11 and things like that. He's a little bit on a hot seat, I would have to assume, and they keep underperforming. Do you fire the coach of the Bills to bring in Bill Belichick?
No, I don't think they'll do that in the East. I don't think so. I think he's pretty safe in his job right now, the way the Bills have turned around the season. But I guess if KC beats them badly, maybe I don't know. But if it's a good game, even if the Bills lose, I think he's still safe for another year.
All right. If I were Bill Belichick, that's where I would go.
If
I were the Bills, I'd think to myself, my goodness, this guy can't win the big game for us year after year after year. So you got a chance to get Bill Belichick? All right. The Cowboys kept Mike McCarthy, as we keep talking about coaches. Was that the wrong decision?
Yes. That was a huge mistake, not firing Mike McCarthy. Listen, Jerry Jones always says he's going to put together a Super Bowl. He's been promising the Dallas Cowboys a Super Bowl for the last, 30-something years or whatever it's been. And yet he keeps doing the same thing over and over again. And the Dallas Cowboys are going to keep doing the same thing over and over again. This is a guy who fired Jimmy Jones after winning 2 Super Bowls. This is how crazy this man is. Jimmy Johnson wins a couple Super Bowls. Because they don't get along, he fires him. He brings in a coach that he can kind of mess around a little bit, and a former college coach he played with, and so that was good for him. Then he brings in Jason Garrett, the same coach some owner that fires Jimmy Johnson, stays with Jason Garrett for a dozen years almost, and he had maybe a 500 team. He now has a coach that he can pretty much tell what to do again, that will listen to whatever he says, and it's gonna be the same cycle over and over again, Doc. They'll probably finish 12-5. They'll get knocked out in the first or second round. And I even read something where CeeDee Lamb doesn't want Dak Prescott there anymore. I think this team also has a lot of inner problems right now. They had a top 5 offense in the NFL, a top 5 defense in the NFL, and they get blown out in that championship game. I think it was a huge mistake. He had a really good chance here to either get a young coach or another. Vrabel was available. There's some other coaches that were available that were worked out just fine in Dallas. But yet here's Jerry Jones after he complains and cries and with the most terrible performance he ever saw, and yet he's going to keep McCarthy with him.
I'm so happy about it.
I'm getting sick and tired of everyone blaming Jerry Jones over things. I mean, him and Jimmy Johnson was a mutual parting of the ways. They didn't get along. Even Jim Jeffcoat will say Jimmy Johnson wanted out. He wanted to go to Miami. It didn't work out. Maybe they could have kept it together for a couple of more years. But guess what? They won a Super Bowl after Jimmy Johnson left a couple of years later. If Jerry Jones stays with the coach a long time, you say he's a meddler. If he gets rid of a coach soon, you say he's a meddler. The Cowboys were 12-5 the last 3 years. That's a pretty good record. So if he fired a coach that went 12-5 the last 3 seasons, you'd say, how could he do that? Whatever Jerry Jones does, he's going to get blamed. Mike McCarthy has 1 year left on his contract. It could have gone either way. I don't think Mike McCarthy takes the Cowboys to the next level. I don't think so. But if he fires Mike McCarthy, people are going to get on him. How could you fire a coach that went 12-5 the last 3 years?
I don't think they would.
You're mad at Jerry Jones. You're basically saying he's a meddler because he's keeping Mike McCarthy.
All the ex-NFL Dallas players think it's stupid. The fans, for the most part, think it's dumb. Listen, and I don't want to turn this into a Yankee show, and I don't want to start a Yankee talk, but it's very similar to the Yankees. They like getting into the playoffs or close to getting in the playoffs, and as long as they have a winning record, that's great. We'll keep the coach. And I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of Yankee fans. There are a lot of Yankee people out there that wish they would go ahead and get rid of their manager, get rid of their GM, and start all over again. The Dallas Cowboys are just like the Yankees in this example. So, and again, I don't want to be like 15 minutes talking about the Yankees. I'm just saying that there are fans out there that would rather throw it all away, rebuild, and go for a Super Bowl than keep doing the same nonsense year after year, Jack.
Pags, what do you think?
Keep him forever. I think he stinks as a coach.
Let me ask you this, because we didn't talk about the coach for the Dolphins. Isn't the coach with the Dolphins similar to the coach with the Eagles? Young guy, very energetic.
Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, very
Not
energetic.
Mike McCarthy. I'm sorry.
And he had a team that everybody
Mike
thought
McDaniel.
was Super Bowl bound, and they fell apart. The Eagles fell apart at the end. The Dolphins fell apart at the end. The Eagles did poorly in the playoffs. The Dolphins did poorly in the playoffs. Shouldn't those same people be scrutinizing the coach of the Dolphins?
I think the Dolphins are in a little bit of a situation. They had a lot of people hurt. A lot of people hurt going into that playoff game. I feel so. I think that, different but same. You know what I mean? Last year they wound up having to go up to Buffalo. I think that again you have to put him on the hot seat. He's got to get beyond where the first round of the playoffs. But I think you got to give him another chance because before him the Dolphins were irrelevant.
I agree with that. And it's not like McCarthy. McCarthy's been around the NFL as a head coach for a long time. He has a record. McDaniels really doesn't. This is going to be his third year as a head coach. So he's a younger guy. I don't know if he's head coach material or not. I know he's a pretty good offensive coordinator. That's for sure. I don't know if he's going to, I don't know. He just doesn't seem like a head coach to me, wearing sandals on the sideline and sweats and stuff like that. Kind of seems a little too laid back or a little too, I don't know what. I think when you're head coach of an organization, you should at least look the part. And to me, he doesn't look the part of a head coach.
Well, why not fire Kyle Shanahan as 49er coach if they don't make it to the Super Bowl? The Niners haven't won a Super Bowl since the 1990s. So why not fire Kyle Shanahan? He's in a nice spot right now. Let's just get rid of him. Let's just keep a handful of coaches at most. Like an Andy Reid should be safe for but beyond Andy Reid and maybe one or two more, everyone should go. You could have that logic. Because their teams really haven't won. And what gets me to, you want to replace these coaches with other coaches whose teams haven't won. I think Mike Vrabel's a great coach with Tennessee, but they're coming off a really bad year. So people would be happy if they fired Mike McCarthy and replaced him with Mike Vrabel. Personally, I think that would be a good move myself. But you're going on the evidence. 12-5, 3 years in a row. It's hard to fire a guy who's had that type of success. And, you mentioned the Yankees, not to stay on the Yankees. They were 82-80 last year. They barely got over 500. So the Cowboys have been more successful than the Yankees have been in recent times.
Listen, I think Vrabel won't get that job because he's too strong of a coach to work for Jerry Jones. And whether you like it or not, Jack, Jerry Jones runs that team. That's his team. And he's the one saying
he doesn't meddle as much as you think.
He's the one saying, Jack, we're going to Super Bowl every year. This year was the best team he ever saw. We're going to Super Bowl. And it didn't happen. They fell apart. And for the third year,
I don't think he said that, Mac, that we're going to the Super Bowl.
This was the best team he ever saw for a long time. Dak is playing unbelievable. He praised the Cowboys there at the end a lot. And he kind of got bonkered at the end there.
So let me get this straight, Mac. The Cowboys should fire Mike McCarthy. The Eagles should fire Nick Sirianni. The Giants should keep Brian Daboll.
If you can't do the job, Jack, if you can't do the job, you should be fired.
Should
Look at all
the
the
Giants
coaches.
fire
Look at
Brian
the
Daboll? Should they fire Brian Daboll?
They should fire Salah. But to me, right now,
why are we detouring to the Jets?
Because you're detouring.
Your team is the
Because you're
Giants.
detouring from what we're talking about. I'll detour right back to you. We're not talking
And
about.
I'll tell you, no, they shouldn't fire Robert Salah, but I'm not saying they should fire the other guys.
The NFL, they fire at 7 to 9 coaches a year. It happens every year, Jack. It happens every year. And whatever the reason is, it is what it is. I'm saying right now, if the Cowboys really want to win a Super Bowl, they would get rid of McCarthy and bring somebody else in. They need a new coach over there.
I think they're better coaches than McCarthy out there for the team. I'm going to agree with that point.
So let me push back here to follow up on Mac. Robert Saleh has not done a good job with the Jets. Are the Jets making a big mistake with all these very respected coaches that are out there, that are available? Harbaugh, Belichick, Vrabel. There's talent. There's guys who are great coaches. Shouldn't the Jets at least have entertained bringing one of them in? No?
Well, they want to run it back with Aaron Rodgers the same way. They feel this was a lost year. I can understand that. But we keep hearing Bill Belichick. The last 4 years, Bill Belichick hasn't won a playoff game. So what are we judging him on? Something from the distant past. He hasn't won a playoff game in 4 years. He's not going to come.
All right, so forget him. What about Harbaugh? Shouldn't the Jets at least have called him up?
I think he's a top-of-the-line coach. But once you set up interviews, you got to fire your coach first before you're interviewing others. You can't start interviewing others while your coach is still there because you're going to diminish him greatly.
Fair point. All right, so let's go back to the Giants then. And we have an issue with Saquon again. The big running back, Saquon Barkley. Is he going to get franchised? What are they going to do? What do you think?
Well, I'll go first. This is my team. Listen, there's 3 options they basically got. You could sign them, extend them a couple of years. You still have a chance to franchise them, or you could trade them to try and get some prospects or players.
Can't trade him without signing him. He doesn't have a contract right now. He's a free agent.
Well, they could franchise him. Pack, and then that's what I'm saying. So that's basically the 3 choices. I don't know. I would be extend him because I think he's still a great running back. I still think he's got a couple more years in him. The smart thing to do would probably be, from the Giants' perspective, would probably be to franchise him or trade him. And I mean, he's still, if he goes to a good team, one of the good teams out there, he's a great weapon. He can catch the ball, run with the ball, good in pass blocking. He's all around a good back, and he's still got some tread on the tires. So maybe they trade him and they pick up a couple
Can't trade him. Trade him unless you franchise him. You know what I mean? You have to franchise him to do that.
Right. But still, Pags, I'm saying you would trade him after you franchise him.
After you franchise him, he's not going to be really able to be traded because of the money situation. Why do that?
I'm just saying they could franchise him, trade him. Pags.
You know what I think the X factor is? I agree with everything Mac is basically saying in large part. You too, Pags. The X factor is this: Giant ownership wants Saquon Barkley to be a career Giant. One of these Giant icons going forward. After his playing career is over, make appearances for the Giants and all. But they don't want to meddle with Joe Shine, the GM, and the coach Brian Daboll. They want to allow them to do their job. That's what happened last year. Is Giant ownership going to step in and let Joe Shine, the Giant GM, know, look, sign the guy. He's been loyal to us. He played in the franchise tag last year. Are they going to let this get ugly? Are they going to let the Giants franchise Saquon Barkley again? It's going to make them extremely unhappy. It'll be ugly if they franchise him again. Let's put it that way. It'll be very ugly if they do it. Before we know, Saquon Barkley might turn around and say, I'm retiring. I've had it. I'm fed up. And not show up at training camp, because there was a threat of that happening last year. Would he show up again and buy all in again? I don't know.
Pags?
I personally, I think that you either sign him to a multi-year deal or you let him go. I think that ultimately you've seen what you've gotten. You haven't really gone anywhere with him. You could say that you made the playoffs last year, but realistically, this year was horrible. You know what I mean? It was a terrible season if you were the Giants. You could say, oh, well, we came out strong at the very end and we beat an Eagles team that obviously had some serious issues. And it was the first time we beat them in, 25 years. But
that's not true.
I know it's not true, but it only feels that way. It only feels that way if you're a Giants fan, right?
Stop making excuses. We just beat you on the field.
I have an excuse for the Eagles. Wait. I think the turning point in the Eagles here when they went downhill, when the NFL suspended Big Dom. Just a coincidence, maybe. Yes. But why did things start going downhill from there?
Well, things did start going downhill, and like I said, I can't report on the rumor because it's only a rumor and it's hearsay right now. But if I was to find out that rumor was true, you'll definitely hear me report it, and it'll make a lot of sense on why the team did what it did. Like, had such a big fall off since then.
Listen, I saw what happened. I saw what happened in the broadcast booth. It doesn't take a lot to put one and one together. Anyway,
what happened in the broadcast booth?
You didn't see that?
No.
There was a lady that was a little upset with him up there when he was up in not the broadcast booth. Sorry, up in the press, up in their box there. There was a lady up there that was a little upset with him. But with the Big Dom when he was up there.
No, that has nothing to do with any of that. Nothing to do with any of that.
Okay, I can report things too, Pags, that are rumors.
Yeah, you're reporting weirdo stuff that nobody knows about. No, Big Dom was no problem with any woman whatsoever.
I saw that.
Okay. Yeah, you know what I saw? I saw that the Giants stunk all year long, and that the coach of the year had failed miserably this year. That's what I saw.
I saw the Eagles fall apart.
Maybe Belichick should go there.
I saw the Eagles fall apart because they really stink out loud at the end of the year, and their coach has no control over the locker room. And Jalen Hurts isn't the quarterback you thought he was. How's that?
Yeah. You know what? That's why I get all the views, and you can keep saying what you say. Okay. Like I said, I know what happened with the locker room now. I just can't report it yet because I don't have all the facts.
I saw all the views you got when you were sitting there with your head in your hands, Pags. I saw them.
Yeah, 50 million. 50 million.
I guess they love to see you suffer, Pags.
They do. They do love to watch me lose.
Speaking of losing, the big losers at this point are all the viewers, because we have reached the top of the hour. It is 1 hour of great sports talk coming to a close. We had the great Pags who snuck in. I sent him a quick little secret passage so he could get in the back door there. And I'm glad he was here with us today. We had Mac, we had Jack, he had me. We had talked a lot of sports. Everything I said was correct. The other guys, I'm not quite sure, but it's all good. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. And they will be back. Tell them, Mac, about what's tomorrow.
Tomorrow, the big football show. Pags, you got to send me your picks still.
That's why I'm here.
Okay. The big football show tomorrow. Stick around after the show. We'll get to it. The big football show tomorrow, 8 to 10, with me, Jack, Sonia, Big Jim, Jim Jeffcoat, Pags, Keith, and I think that's it for tomorrow. So that's all.
Maybe Big Dom will show up.
Yeah, that'll be all right. I'd send him a link. Jack has a lot to talk to him about. He's a Big Dom lover now. Yes.
We love Big Dom. The Jet Nation even loves Big Dom.
I think they're going to trade Big Dom to the Jets for a future.
I would give a 7th round draft choice to get Big Dom.
Big Dom is
he's worth every bit of at least a third.
Yeah, there you go. All right, there you go. All right, folks, have a great day. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the views, the likes, the shares.